Okay, hello, Ghost Jazz Trio fans. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the volume real quick. Let's see. Okay, hope everyone's doing great. As you can see, I'm here in my music studio, my cave. Uh, it's funny because when I was a kid, my dad's house was his cave. We were just allowed to be in it, but now I guess people have to have a separate room. Anyway, today is Saturday the 30th. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. I know there's a lot of weather and things going on all across the U.S., but it's a nice 74 degrees here where I am. Nice view of the ocean out my bedroom window and out my kitchen window and out my studio window. So it's really pretty out. Um, as everyone knows, I'm going to be doing a weekly uh, vlog YouTube video. Um, I've been asked to do it by numerous fans. If you watch my other videos, you'll kind of know how it all progressed and happened. So I recommend you watch the first four. And there may be some useful information on those videos for you as a musician, as a working musician, if that's what you want to be and pursue. I've been doing this for 45 years, playing music, and probably done 4,000 shows in my life already uh, and more. Played many different genres of music just because it's fun to explore. For me, as a musician, I know a lot of musicians. They go to school and they learn how to read and theory, and they spend 3, 4, maybe 5 years doing that. And then when they get out, they end up playing cover bands, reading charts, and really just playing other people's music that everyone else is doing. And that's great if you're a side musician, um, which I'll get into it a little bit later. But for me, I always wanted to create my own music, uh, original. And for me, it was really important. Um, I actually was taking music classes in college, and then I started taking lessons from Bill Connors, and he told me to not learn how to read music, all the theory more. Read music, but not all the theory. Uh, and that was his reasoning was if you want to create something new, don't pollute your mind with all the stuff that's already there because it's just repeated. That teacher repeats what he learned, and then those students repeat, and it's just a repeat. There's nothing new. And so that's what I did. I've had many bands, toured with a lot of people, and done a lot of things. But at this point in my life, what I'm doing is I have the Ghost Jazz Trio. You can go to ghostjazztrioband.com. Check out the music on Spotify. I've got 3 albums out over the last 3 years and coming out with a new album next year around March. And really enjoying this time. So today, what I want to talk about is how to metadata your songs. If you go check out my other videos, I kind of told you how you need to establish yourself online first, create a presence, a footprint, if you will, of who you are before you even start getting your music out there or even hiring yourself out as a musician. I know there's a lot of bass players, keyboardists, guitarists, drummers who they'll go ahead and hire themselves out to 4 or 5 bands at one time because that's what they do for a living and they have to make money, so they do that. Again, for me, going to school and learning all that, I just see all these musicians do that and they get out and they're really not creating anything new. They're just going out and playing. And there's some really talented musicians that when I play with them, I hear them do phrasings and hear them do things within the songs, and I think, God, these guys should just record some songs and get their music out there because they're great musicians. But again, when you get yourself in a position as a side musician and you brand yourself as that, that's pretty much what you end up doing. There are a few people that break out. There's a saxophonist, Eric Darius, and he used to be with the Average White Band back in the day. And now he's a solo act, and he's booked solid. He's got a huge fan base. You know, you can make that transition. So, and I'll get into that in another video. But today, I'm not going to have another 45-minute video, I hope. But you're welcome to make comments if you have any questions. I'll look over at some point to see. But today I'm going to talk about how to metadata your songs. And I kind of have a crude setup here. So what I'm going to do is you can actually go on to Apple Music, and you can take your songs and you can metadata them yourself. I personally use my marketing partner, smoothjazz.com, Global Radio. I give them my songs, and they metadata them. They can also fingerprint them. Fingerprinting basically gets all the tones and rhythms and everything locked in so that it's even more precise rather than just having an ISRC number, which most people have for their songs in the title and so on and so forth. So I'm going to kind of run through it. I'm going to probably bring the camera over to show you what I'm doing, and then I'll put the camera back, so it might be a little bit of a disruption. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about hiring yourself out as a musician from the point of view of somebody as a band leader, hiring someone, the things to do and not to do, and what we expect when we're hiring somebody, because it costs us money to hire somebody, not just in our time, but actual money. And so it'll help kind of, I think, a lot of young players, they hire themselves out and, for rehearsals, and they do rehearsals and then they play, and they don't really, some of them don't do it the correct way. And I'm just going to kind of go over that. So let me look at my camera here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this camera over. All right. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. All right. Let me get this. All right. Hopefully this will work. So, and I won't be able to tell if it does or not, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so I can't see you, but what I have here is you go ahead and you open up your Apple Player, and then you go to your recently added song, which is over here, and you add it. So I just added this one called On the Groove. It's a basic song. It's just me playing. But you go over here with your mouse, you click on this, and you go scroll down. And what you want to do is you click on Song Info. And Song Info, this pops up. Now, basically what it has is On the Groove. It has the date. So if I want to go ahead and remove that date, I can, so I will. And then you can put the next line below, you can put the artist. So I'll put the Ghost Jazz Trio, or Ghost Jazz Trio. Don't really use the let's see, Ghost Jazz Trio. And just underneath that, album. So it's not on an album. It's going to be on the next one, but for album's sake, my next album is going to be called Groove and Smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there because the song is going to be on that album. And then just below it says album artist. So I can put Ghost Jazz Trio. Then I go just below that, composer. That would be me. So I put James Morgan. It'll automatically populate each time once you start doing it. And then down here, you go a couple more spaces down. It has the genre. So I always go to jazz. So I put jazz. And then the year. So I'm going to put 2023 because I want it to be on the, that. Then it'll say what track. So I'm going to put track 6 of 12, let's say. And then It says disc number, you don't really need that. It says compilation, it's not a compilation of various artists. And then you can put also the beats per minute. So I'll say it's a 110. I seem to like that BPM. And some comments. Then you just click OK, right? You don't need to do that yet. You can actually go back up here and you hit artwork. All right, so that's there. Then you go to artwork and you come down here and it says you can add artwork. So it opens up your desktop. I'm going to cruise down here and I'm just going to click on the Ghost Jazz Trio logo. Then you go to lyrics, no lyrics, options. Okay, now media content, music, and then the start is 0, and say the song is 1 minute 57 seconds, 57.12 seconds long. So that's great. Now, let's see, sorting, on the groove, album, groove and smooth, album artist, Ghost Jazz Trio, artist, Ghost Jazz Trio, composer, and then the file. So this has more technical stuff. Now you can go all the way back to details, and then you just hit OK. Now, when the song plays, it says right here, Ghost Jazz Trio, album Groove and Smooth, 2023 release, jazz. So they can click on that, and then when it plays on the radio, that kind of runs through. And you can do that for all your songs. And then you have that file. Then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and click on this, and you want to copy that, or you want to get this to your desktop. So you can do with that with all your songs, and then you have all your songs metadated. Then you add them to SoundCloud and all the streaming platforms, because now it's got metadata. People will see all that. So I'm going to put the camera back. Let's see if it works. Let's see if I can get this back. Okay, that worked pretty good. So hopefully you saw that. The other thing I wanted to talk about besides metadating your songs, and also, by the way, my latest single came out last week on Monday, and if you watched the last video, I explained how it worked. Email blast to all the radio programmers, and then I follow up the next day with emails that go out to all of them, asking them to add me and all that. So I get into it more detail on the last video, so I recommend watching it if you're interested to see how you get your song out there. So hopefully the song was added this week, and I'm going to be showing each week the progression of the song, how it's doing on the charts, where it is on the charts, all that kind of thing. So you kind of get in real time how it all works. So come Monday, when all the charts come out, they come out on Friday, but they're really not released till Monday. So sometimes, the reporting stations, ones that take all the information from all the reporting stations. For me, it's about 90 stations that are reporting. Then on Monday, I'll see, about midday Pacific time, where my song is. If it's in the top 100, if it's what they call chart bound, which is maybe the 50 songs below the top 100. And then you have radar, which used to be called the Gavin Report back in the day. And then my particular genre, smooth jazz, contemporary jazz, has the only listeners charts, where the listeners around the world, when they hear a song on smoothjazz.com, they can click on the heart and say they like it. And then if you get on that charts, I think it's the top 50 or so, I'm not sure, 60 maybe. So it's, the charts aren't make all break all. It's just nice to know your music's out there and the programmers like it enough where you're actually in the top 100. For me, it's a kind of a milestone, only being out. This is my third year with the brand, because I've done good marketing, that I'm, in the charts sometimes higher than people have been doing this for 40 years or 30 years they've been out there. There's a lot of names that have been doing it, the Boney James, Norman Brown, all those great artists. So it's nice to be in their company. So we'll kind of keep tracking of that with you. So I'll know Monday, and then the next Saturday I'll let everyone know how it did on that week. Now I'm going to be doing the videos a little later. I got a couple messages that people are, on the Saturday they're out, so they said, "Can you do it maybe later in the afternoon or night?" So I kind of found time right now to do this video. The other thing I want to talk about is from a band leader's point of view. When I'm looking for a bass player, drummer, keyboardist, I have my primary players. I have my primary drummer, which is Jack Nathan, who's been on my last 3 albums. Really good drummer. I learn a lot from him because he has an understanding of music in ways that I don't. So when we're approaching a song or auditioning a bass player, for instance, he'll be able to relate terms to them that I don't. Because I'm more analytical, business-like person. He's more musical, the way he relates to him, which is good. So I have him, and then I have Nathan Brown. Since the pandemic, my first album I recorded during the pandemic, it was a good time for me. If you watch my first video, because people were available, and so I was able to do that downtime and get my foot in the door during the time when artists weren't flooding the market with music. About 64,000 songs are released every month. It used to be 8,000 back in the day. Now it's 64,000. So even to be on a chart these days is quite a feat if you think about it in those terms, numbers. So so I have Nathan Brown. He tours quite a bit. So he's going to be going on a tour in August with Coco Montoya. He'll be gone for most of the month. So I have other bass players, that I call subs or secondary players, as you know, in the jargon in the business. So I have another bass player. I have some shows already covered by one. And then I have other shows that come in. I use several agencies, booking agencies, which I'll go over about trying to get your band hired. So when sometimes I'll put an ad on Craigslist or by word of mouth, my primary bass player may say, "Hey, I got somebody who can sub for me. I have a tour that came up." Well, obviously he's not going to stick around to do 1 or 2 or 3 gigs when he can go on the road and, with Coco or whoever and make some money. In tour. So anyway, so when I look for a bass player, say for instance, and I've done a few auditions actually this last few weeks, had some auditions, and one of the key things I think again I look for is I'm hoping that they have a footprint online, that they have some videos of them, not from 2014 when they used to play, but they answer an ad because I'm looking for a sub player and they want to get into the music. That's great, but I need somebody who's actually out there playing. There are a lot of bass players and keyboardists that are hired out. They're in like 3 or 4 bands at one time, which is great. That they would even have the time to play, but because of where I'm positioned in the food chain, I'm able to get some good players and get players that even if they have a tight schedule, they want to play with us because we're known around town. We have 3 albums. We've been nominated for Best Jazz Album of the Year 2 years in a row. In August, I'll find out if my latest album is going to be on one of the nominees. So we'll find out. Again, if someone contacts me, I ask them to send me some links to their music so I can check them out. I look at their Facebook page. I mean, everything you can do online now. It's the real world. It's not the virtual world. It is the real world. So if I don't see much material, or just, if I'm listening to them, and for my particular, as a composer and arranger, and I offer a certain product when I advertise on certain websites and through certain booking agencies, I offer a particular product a certain way. So for my genre, For bass players, I need someone, say for instance, if you play blues, a lot of bass players will never play higher than the fifth fret. They just stay down in that pocket, right? Maybe F minor. So I'm looking for someone who can play in the pocket, but also can solo because it is a trio. And I want to draw the songs out when I do a corporate event or a wedding, somebody who can kind of groove. For my particular genre, I need somebody who can solo in a melodic way, melodic phrasing. It's not just doing a bunch of riffs. Listeners, people who are sitting and having a cocktail and eating food don't really care if you can play fast. You know, if you're Stanley Clark on bass, or if I'm Al Diniel or I'm McLaughlin on guitar, they don't care if I can play as fast as a typewriter, typist can type. They want to hear the groove for my genre, and this is what I offer, is a nice smooth jazz groove with some nice melodic solos over it. Almost like a melody, because it just keeps that groove, and then throw the bridge in there to transition to the next solo. So when I'm looking for a bassist or a keyboardist, basically a bassist at this point, I'm looking for somebody who can do that. So if I kind of hear that they're maybe too busy of a player, but I think I can talk to them and say, look, can you kind of not play so busy and be more melodic? So it's just a matter of meeting them. So what I do is I'll schedule an audition, and I like to know in advance. All my auditions are paid auditions. I have always paid people to come and play. Gas is expensive, it's their time, and I would expect them, I'm going to send them some material. So I may send them 5 songs to listen to, and also the charts to do a little homework to prepare for the audition, because they also have to do their work too. It's not all on me. I'll pay them for their time when we're rehearsing, and I'm paying for the studio, but they have to show that they're motivated enough to learn the music, take a few hours at home, listen to it. Now, I've had players that'll show up and they haven't even listened to the songs, and they didn't even look at the charts that I sent, but they're getting paid anyway. Now they may have a fee that they charge, and I have a different fee. I usually charge pay a certain fee. Now, if they're charging more, sometimes I'll allow it, because I'll go ahead and do it, because I know that they don't have another income stream. I do. So I will go ahead and accommodate that. Now, if they show up and they haven't looked at the charts, they haven't replayed any of the music, now it's going to take me longer to get through the songs that I could have just kind of whizzed through and maybe added 3 or 4. It's kind of a waste of my time, and it's almost not dishonest, but it's disingenuous to me as somebody who may be hiring them for. And also, I would think that they would want to be viewed as more professional, that they actually took the time to go over the charts and maybe even listen to the songs to know. So we don't for the very first time have to kind of show them, the drummer and I, how to play, and then they kind of get it and go through it. So I recommend, if you're a side musician, please do your due diligence at home. Do your own work. You're a professional. Do you want to show up and like, hell, I didn't have time to look at it? That just, to me, in my eyes, if somebody's going to hire you, it doesn't look professional. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And I've sent you material, and I've taken my time to go ahead and do that, so that to help you be, I want to set people up for success, but some people don't treat it as a business. And I've had people show up, and then it's going to be a paid rehearsal, but then all of a sudden they have what they're going to charge. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me this before? You're telling me now what your rate will be when we play live. Now you're telling me what your bass rehearsal time, pay is. That's not the right way to do it. And you're putting someone on the spot. Get that out of the way at the beginning, just like you would with a venue. You don't show up at a venue and say, okay, I charge $1,200 for the 2 hours, and they only pay $4. Now what they got to do, either come up with 800 or they're going to be battling with you. It just creates a bad vibe in your street credit too out there. So if you're going to hire yourself out as a keyboardist, drummer, bass player, side musician, get the pay out of the way right away. Let them know what you want to be paid, and then ask. And if they can't, if they have a different pay, if it's you want to add, maybe it's worth it to come down $10 or $20, whatever, in pay, because you're at least it's adding to your income. So maybe it's $1,000 extra dollars you wouldn't have. Would you rather have that extra 1,000? Maybe not the two you want, but it's an extra 1,000 or zero. That's the way I look at it. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. Have the footprint online. Have some representation of what you're about. Let them know your accolades. Don't be. It's not being egotistical to tell what your experience is, because it's a resume. But you're given a verbal resume or through an email, or you send links, or an EPK. You actually have a press kit, explain who you've played with, the bands that you're in, that kind of thing. So treat it like a business. Treat yourself like a business. Give yourself that perception. Perception is reality, and you want to market yourself as a professional, and people will see you that way. So that's what I recommend from my standpoint. That's what I look for when I'm hiring somebody, and it's worked out pretty good so far. I've had a few incidents here and there, but it's a small. Music is a small community. You don't want to create any ripples in the water for yourself. I usually just go along and pay somebody. If they say they have a different pay rate than what I normally pay, I'll go ahead and do it. Maybe not every time, but that time. And so as a band leader, I think it's always good to have at least 2 or 3 drummers, 2 or 3 bassists, a couple keyboardists that know your material. They're gonna have to put in that little extra work, because they're not reading from the real book. A lot of jazz musicians, I actually think they're kind of lazy, because they only want to play with bands where they can use the real book, because they can just go in. They've already played the song probably 100 times, a couple hundred times. It's easy for them to read the charts, and they just go in. That's great if that's what you want to do. If you want to be part of an original act, like my act, they got to do some homework. I want them to bring, not just be somebody who goes in and a clone and just plays off the chart book. I want them to learn the charts, read the charts, but bring their own spin on it to the music. And because to me, that's what's exciting about music, is not knowing when you're jamming, you don't know what's going to happen the next moment, but you're in the moment, and it's challenging because you're all playing in that moment together, and you don't know where it's going to go. But if you're all there together, not distracted with what's going on around you, not worrying about what's on the chart, the charts are just a point of reference where the changes are and the solos. It can be a really fun experience, and that's why I like playing live, because I like to share that experience with the listener, because they get to watch us in that moment. And often you get to see musicians do that. If you're in a cover band or a tribute band, or you're just doing covers, I mean, you've heard the song a million times. You're going to hear these musicians. Yeah, they're great, but they're just playing songs you can hear on the radio. I'd rather just hear it on the radio and have to pay the high prices for drinks, food, crowd. It's with COVID now, so it's all up to what you want to do. I like the fact that the Ghost Jazz Trio, we're original music. It's all new, and it's fresh, and it's always changing. We never play the song the same, because it's jazz. It's a time for us to, as musicians, to kind of get away from that. I don't like listening to music that's just over and over, same thing. Again, some musicians like that, because they don't really have to think. They just already know what's going to happen. And to me, it's just, and I'm not being critical, it's just lazy to me. Why put all that time and energy? You don't get paid enough anyway at venues. It's not like you're doing it because you're getting great pay. Why spend all that time practicing your shedding your instrument and all that just to go and play music that everyone else is playing down this next club down the street or whatever? It's just it can be helpful. I know some events we want a Sinatra crooner, so they want Sinatra songs. So say for instance, if you want to, if you're in a band, you have your band, you want to get work. So you go to a site like Gig Salad or Gigmore, I think it's called. There's some other ones, and you have your artist on the roster. People will inquire, and they're going to say, "Oh, we want a Louisiana style jazz band, or we want a ragtime jazz band, or we want jump blues with a harmonica player." Well, I'm going to answer them and say, "Sorry, we're not a good fit for what you're looking for. Thank you for the inquiry. If you think a cool jazz, laid back groove, smooth jazz band is good for your event, we're the perfect act for you." So it's really, you have to fit what it is. So if you do have a cover band and there's a club that they have a certain clientele that comes in, and baby boomers that grew up on that music and they just want to hear those songs and dance, that's great. But for me, that's just not my scene. It's boring to me. It's just, to be honest with you, I'd rather just go take a walk on the beach or watch a good movie than to just go and listen to some covered songs, paying $13 for a drink and hanging out. It's just not my personal preference. Besides, I'm always working on my music, so I don't really have the time. Anyway, so find your niche, find where you're comfortable, but present yourself in a professional way. And when you're going out and getting work as a band, keep in mind you're adding value to whatever venue you're at. They're almost looking at like they're doing you a favor, paying you maybe $150 or $300 for 5 people in your band. That's no money. I mean, for 3 hours, and let them know, hey, if they like us, people are going to stay longer, which means they're going to drink more, they're going to eat, they're going to spend money. That's what you have to get through to them, that you're not an expense, you add value, you're on the menu. And if you present yourself that way, you'll get the money that you deserve. I don't typically, I want to make sure the guys that I play with get a certain pay for an hour. It's worth the pay. They already know the pay that I try to get for them, and they like it. So, as you get more popular and you build up your credibility and performance, you're more in demand, you can charge more. You have to start, obviously. I played free a lot of times at places because I had to pay the other guys to pay, but I didn't get paid. So you have to invest in yourself. It doesn't happen overnight either. So anyway, I talked about how to metadata your songs and a little bit about being a side musician, how you present yourself. That's all I got time for today. I hope there was some useful stuff on there. Leave comments. I'll get back to you on them. Next week, I'll be talking about what my single did on the charts come Monday. And also, I'm going to start doing some backtracks with me playing over them a little bit. People said that they'd like to hear some of that, so I'll be doing that. You can go to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can hear a lot of our live performances. There's over 600 videos, including a couple other past bands on here. And then also go to Instagram, Ghost Jazz Trio, Twitter, Facebook. You can go to Ghost Jazz jazztrioband.com. You can download the songs, ask Siri or Alexa to play the songs. You can go to Spotify, all your favorite streaming platforms, and listen to the Ghost Jazz Trio. We'd appreciate it. And next week, I'm going to also talk about royalties, how it works, and what you can expect to get from them. And if you have shared royalties or 100%, which they call 200%. And I'll kind of show you the process to go through, how to go to BMI and get your songs on there with your ISRC numbers, and in the order to put them in, the time, the song, all that. So I'll get through a little bit of that technical stuff. All right. So everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know I didn't win the $1 billion thing. That's not why I'm late. So I hope the people that did win it back east in Illinois are going to enjoy it. So there's a lot of negative things going on the planet. There's also a lot of great things going on. And those are the things that we need to focus on. One of the most important things for me when I play with other musicians or audition them is the vibe that they come across. If they come across humble or pushy or showing off or condescending, just, it's really important to just be, come from the thing about music. For me, music is like a guru. It kind of guides you. I always say to myself and others around me, for me, it's not about me. It's about the music. And I let the music direct the way. If my music is taking me on this journey, I'm just going to invest in it and go with it because it's the music. And it's an expression of who I am and your higher self, not just your persona that you project to people. So music is a time when you let go of all that stuff when you're playing, because it'll get in the way if you don't. And also, when you're in that place, you connect with other players. I consider there is a hierarchy. There are good players and bad players. There's negative musicians that are real negative vibe, and there's some that are real positive. So I tend to attract people that are very positive and that are really good players. That's the thing, though, is when you become a good player, and you have to acknowledge where you are on that scale of good. Buddy Rich used to say he was a great drummer, and that wasn't being egotistical. He knew he was a great drummer. Why not know what your skill level is? A lot of people are humble about their playing to the degree where they're almost critical of themselves. There's no reason to be that way. Why? If you put in the time and you have a natural talent, what I call the it factor, there's a lot of good players, but they don't have that certain it factor. If you have it, share it. I tend to attract those players. I've been very fortunate through my music career. And I recognize when they don't have it. Miles Davis was very good at that. He could just tell them, put your instrument on, hold your instrument, whether it was a guitar or trumpet, sax. He could tell just by how they held their instrument if they were going to work or not. He would just say, I don't think this is going to work. See ya. Well, he's Miles Davis. What are you going to say? Why? No, you're just going to pack up your stuff and leave. So I give people a chance. I like to see what they have if they put in the work, if they're still putting in the work. I do. I mean, music is constant learning. It's constant. You're never going to be where you want to be. It's a journey, and that's the fun part of it. There's no threshold where you hit. And if you come to a place where you feel you're not growing, take lessons or explore a different genre of music. I'm taking lessons myself right now because I'm not a jazz player. So I have someone I learned from online, Cecil Alexander on pickup.com. He's really a good teacher. A couple other ones. So I recommend, finding someone to help kind of expand your playing ability. And, if you feel you're stuck. Billy Cobham talks about that, getting stuck and expanding. So it's constant work. I recommend, and I put in 2 to 4 hours a day of playing, depending on, because you have life stuff too. But back before the computer, nobody was online or on their phone. They were playing all the time. So they played a lot more, practice a lot more than they do now. Most people are on their phone and they're on the computer. They don't play 3 or 4 hours a day anymore. Maybe they get an hour, maybe. So if you're watching television, turn the television off, go sit in your room, pick up your instrument and practice, because that's what you're not only going to be honing your skills, but you're nurturing your soul. And we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And to be an artist, whether you're a painter or a musician, you've been given the gift to give people a frequency they don't experience all day. You know, you may know of negative ions and positive ions. They're in the atmosphere around you. So positive ions are not good for you. They're unhealthy. If you go into the middle of Los Angeles, get out of your car, the amount of positive ions is so great. It's destroying your cells in your body, the oxygen, everything, your blood, polluting you in ways you don't even know. But if you're around the ocean or you're by a waterfall, those are negative ions, and those are really good for you. And for instance, a good example is in casinos. In casinos, they used to create negative ions in the atmosphere with machines. But the machines they were using had side effects that could have been linked to people getting leukemia. So they had to switch to pumping pure oxygen into the casinos. The reason they do that is to make you feel good. Negative ions make you feel good. Pure oxygen does. That's why when planes, the mask drops down in an airplane, it's not just oxygen, it's pure oxygen. Why? It makes you feel elated. So in a point of terror, while your plane's going down or going through some kind of turbulence, it calms you because it's making you feel good in that sense. So you're an artist as a musician, you're giving them a certain frequency of music, not just the music, but also the vibe, the frequency you're delivering through your instrument. So you're helping raise the consciousness and the frequency of people that are listening to your music. And that's a gift that we're given. So I look at it as that I have to revere that. And as the gatekeeper of that frequency, I have to hone my skills and keep my spiritual higher self, my self-awareness, that we're all frequencies, we're all vibration, everything is. And you have to, through diet, through exercise, through what you read, the people you surround yourself with, how you live your life. You want to live your life at the highest level frequency as possible. Eating pure foods, not polluting your body with alcohol and drugs and the things that are going to deaden your pineal gland, which is connected to your higher self, as it says in the Bible. The lantern, that's just a symbol for the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is also known as the third eye, and it's shaped like a pine cone. So if you go to the Vatican, in the middle of the Vatican, on the top of the tower there's a huge 2-story pine cone, because they know that that's the pineal gland. And if you look at all the old Egyptian and Buddhist things where they have the Egyptian, they have a big pine cone on the top of the staff, which represents a pineal gland. And then you have the Buddhas that have the cone shape on their head, pine cone, pineal gland. So, with all the pollution we have around us through our cosmetics, products, deodorants, chemtrails, in the polluted food, mass-produced processed food with all the chemicals, toothpaste, the water fluoridation, all that's in there is deadening your pineal gland, and disrupting your frequency as a higher being. So through diet, thought, meditation, yoga, exercise, whatever portal you want to use to constantly connect with your higher self, that's going to translate through your music. And that's, as artists, I feel that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to keep ourselves as pure as possible, undiluted, so the music can come through us as pure as possible, because that's what they're going to feel initially and ultimately, not the facade of the genre of the whatever music, the lyrics are saying, whatever message. That's not it. It's actually the vibe coming through. So I hope that helps. That's all part of music. And Carlos Santana, very much into the whole spiritual part of music. John McLaughlin back in the old days, all of that. So it's all important to combine all that. Keep yourself at a higher level. It's not about being popular, greed, your ego, impressing anybody. Then you've strayed away. You're just you're not really even doing yourself justice as an artist. Put value on yourself. Love yourself for being an artist. It's not something that everyone can do easily. I'm sure you run into musicians or people that would love to be a musician, and it's like some people can't make toast, and other people are gourmet cooks. So if you have a gift, recognize it, market it, and hopefully you can do what you love and be supported, create an income stream. And so future videos, that's what I'm trying to help, is how do you create music and also monetize it. And I've been able to do that. A lot of other people have too, different ways. This is just my way as an indie artist, and I'm going to share that with you moving forward. So I'm going to say good night to everybody, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.